when you're done with the Codevita exam, almost after a week you get your rankings, and most probably the ones who have ranking below 6,000 or I guess 7,000, they get a call. Like mostly they do get a call. Now what happened is they do not send the call immediately. Suppose you have your interview like 3 days from now, then they'll send you 2 days before that you have interview on this date. So you cannot wait for the interview call, a proper interview call to start preparing. And the thing is, TCS asks a lot of technical questions. I mean, it's not just personal interview; they really ask a lot of technical questions. So, and also they do not distinguish between if you're a CSC student or a ENTC student. They do expect you to know the things that they're expecting from every other student. I mean, you cannot just go and say that you do not know much of the programming because you're from ENTC or from mechanical. You should be knowing that. And of course, you are going through Codevita. That means that you have solved the programming question, right? That's another thing if you had copied and stuff like that, but you cannot just say that you do not know much of the programming. So what happens is there are three basic requirements for the interview. What they expect, in my opinion, is that first thing, you must have basic knowledge of the subjects of your branch, whatever it might be. Even if you're from mechanical or ENTC, you should know it. I mean, you cannot just say that I do not have much interest in my branch. Like I am from ENTC, I cannot say them that I do not have much interest in my core subject because you have learned it for like 3 years and they expect you to know at least some of it. So you should be knowing that. Second thing that they expect is whatever you have written in your CV, you should have depth knowledge about that. Now, what happens is people write 10 different things, but they do not know any of it in depth. They know each of it superficially. So this does not work. You mention just two things. That's totally okay. Just mention two things, but you must have depth knowledge about it. Because if you're mentioning it in CV, that simply implies that you must have done some practical project on it, or you must be learning it. They do not expect you to mention things which you are on a very basic part of. As in, for example, most of us have learned C programming in first year. Irrespective of your branch, C programming was taught to everyone. But there are few who are not comfortable with C programming, so don't mention it in your CV. It's like totally all right. There's no compulsion. Now, see what happens is, like I said before, logic is important because uh, you can learn any programming language in 2 weeks. This is something which I believe because syntax is what matters, and it takes like just 3-4 days to get familiar with syntax. So they are also not looking for candidates who know like 10 different programming languages. No, they are looking for someone who is open to learn new things and who already is competent in at least one thing. And third thing, which I guess is important, is you must somehow prove to them that you are open to learn new stuff, that you are a quick learner and you are not rigid. Basically, what they try to test is in future, if they give you a project on Java, but say you are competent in Python. So you cannot deny saying that you don't know Java and you don't want to learn. So this is something they don't want. They want a candidate who is ready to learn new things. So what I would suggest is you have time now, and so just pick two fields, one or two field. For example, let me say if you pick up machine learning, or say if you pick up web development, pick this any two things and start studying. And by start studying, I don't mean that you should Google like interview questions on machine learning. No, this is something which is not expected. Learn it because you want to learn it. I mean, acquire knowledge. Because just googling questions, interview questions, it they know it, that they can understand that you do not have in-depth knowledge about it. So like choose just two fields and start learning about it, and then you can mention it in your CV confidently. They do ask you questions. For example, what happened was they were asking me a lot about SQL. I had mentioned SQL in my CV, and I knew it, a lot of it. But there was a limitation to my knowledge, and beyond that, I did not, because SQL at that time, I guess it was in the second semester. It was not in the current academics of my ENTC branch. So I told them that this is my limitation, and I was unable to answer the questions further. So then they asked me from what branch you are. I said ENTC. Then they started asking me about transformers, transistors, capacitors. Now this thing is something which every ENTC graduate should know, right? They are not expecting any serious thing. They're not expecting you to draw a diagram or build a circuit, but they're expecting you to know what a capacitor or a transformer is. And similarly, this applies to every other branch. If you're from mechanical or civil, it really doesn't matter if you do not belong to CSE or IT, you could still crack it because they are obviously looking for someone who is like willing to learn. So this is something which I would like to say. In Have proper knowledge about your branch, about the subjects of your branch, and also mention only those things in your CV which you are very comfortable with. So I would pass it on to Pranjal from now.
Almost done, but I would like to add one point. Even if you don't crack NQT1, there are chances that you will get a call for Ninja offer, which is base offer, and but you will have to score about 60% to get the interview call, and the interview will be in a medium level, not as the difficult as a digital level interview. For a digital level, you will be asked basic three questions for Ninja and also digital platform. Are you willing to stay any location? Are you willing to join any hours? Are you willing to work overtime? If you are comfortable with it, you should say yes, because they want to know that you are really able to handle the stress. Or there will be some interviewer will be little bit rude, but you will have to stay calm and figure it out how to handle yourself. And I have noticed few interviewers also ask you about quizzes, which is not that usual in these interviews. So try to do some quizzes too, like puzzles. Uh, so Ashwini already covered all of the questions which can be asked. So that's from my side.
Pranjal, I'm interrupting.
Yeah.
You also wrote Codevita last time, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
You can also like throw light on the questions, the type of questions you got, and the way you handled them quickly.
Okay.
Can.
Okay. So my Codevita was on day 2. So I have seen the earlier day's question and studied what kind of question will be asked. So almost similar questions were there. One was purely logical question, uh, there are few. There is triangular mesh. You have to, and there are some pipes that you have to fill with the balls. So that was you can refer the questions which it is available on many sites. Uh, and if you want, I will share the questions later. So that was purely logical question, and there was also memory bound question. Uh, System memory bound question. You will have to use collections or data structure in it. You can't use two loops. That was the trick part in it. And I got the interview call for uh, through Codevita also, but I couldn't get digital package there. I got Ninja basic package, but yeah.
In Codevita, what happened? They take interview in two rounds. Like the ones they think that must be interviewed for digital. On the same day, they take their digital interview. Now, I have seen there most. I had asked a lot of students over there who had taken the digital interview. Almost to everybody inside, they had given some coding question and asked them to code right in front of them. The reason was because as we take code Vita at our homes, and of course, a lot of people use the copy paste approach. They just wanted to make sure that you genuinely know it. So they give you a code, basic code, but they ask you to code in front of them, and they had given me three different codes, and in any language that you're comfortable with. They do not ask you to do it in C or Java particularly. any language that you want to do. So the thing is, I would like to say before you go for the interview, especially through Codevita, just brush up every programming skills that you could, because they do ask coding questions. They ask everybody, all those who had taken digital interview there.
Okay, Ashwini, thank you so much. And one more message, what Ashwini stands for is like being from ENTC background, she has got this digital package of 7 lakhs. So it's not branch specific, I would say it's skill specific. If you have those skills, you can definitely do it as Ashwini has done. So thank you, Ashwini. Now, with your permission, all three resource persons, can we throw the session open for questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I request the students to put their questions in the chat box, or if they want, they can. Yeah, it's better we put it in the chat box, and then people can see it here on the screen, and we can take it one by one. So, Pranjal, Ashwini, and Satish, you can look at the questions in the chat and take it one by one. Fine.
Yeah, so the first question.
Yeah, Satish, go.
Yeah, the first question is when the registration process starts for NQT. So the college will let you know. The TNP department always the things are updated in the group, so stay updated. You'll as soon as the company TCS follows puts some guidelines, you'll get to know about it. So don't need to worry. And second thing about the time limit exceeded errors, because check for the constraints in the code. So the input constraints sometimes they're specified as 10 power 6, 10 power 9, or the maximum value of limit of the inputs. So you'll have to keep in check on them, and then accordingly, if the input number is very high, so you'll have to reduce the number of loops and complexity. So the more efficient the code and the less is the complexity, the more are the chances of you not getting the time limit exceeded error.
Talking about the marking scheme for each question in Codevita, there is no such thing that you must do this particular question to get a call. Two questions, any two questions that might be, that is the thing that you need to do. There's like no particular marking scheme, or no particular code is given more weightage.